episode of a new series that I'm going to try. This time studying specifically kanji. Whereas Nihongo Shiki is more of a conversation class, this one will talk more about the writing. Before we start, I'll go ahead and give something of an overview as to what I assume you already know and kind of how this is going to go along, like the methodology that I'm using. As you can tell, I expect you to know hiragana and katakana. Of course, I'm still going to go through and read all of these out loud, but it would probably be better if you already knew hiragana and katakana. If you don't, it's really, really easy to learn. It took me maybe 2 weeks. No, we had 1 week to master hiragana, and then it took me another week or two after that to learn katakana because it wasn't stressed as much in my class. But yeah, if you go and learn that really quick, I know Arcane Static has some videos on it. You could do my method, which was to get a whiteboard and like write the hiragana and katakana tables like over and over and over again, and then use flashcards and just try to work on repetition that way. But yeah, start with that, preferably, and then you can dive right into this. There are some kanji here that are higher level. Don't worry about that. These are merely here to explain how these kanji are used in real life. So if you don't know these kanji, don't worry, you're not supposed to. We're starting from the beginning. On that note, when I say that we're starting from the beginning, I am going in Joyo kanji order. As you know, there's a couple different ways kanji are sorted and classified. For example, there's the JLPT sorting order, which goes from levels now N5 through N1, and that's a kanji set. There's the Heisig kanji order, which is done by like meaning or stroke type shape, something like that. And I prefer, this is called Joyo, I believe. It basically means by grade level, as in it goes in the order that Japanese students would learn them in school. I personally like this method, is my favorite. That's why I'm going to teach it. The other method I've used when I got a little bit more advanced in kanji is I got myself a kanji dictionary that was sorted by usage. So it started the most frequently used kanji and then worked its way back. I don't have that here to show you, I forgot it. But yeah, if you want to do something like that, that's also a valid way. For reference, the texts I'm going to be using in this series are based off of the Kanji Kente exams. This reads Kanken. It's a standardized test in Japan for Japanese people. Students can take it from elementary school on. There's something like 12, 14 different levels depending on your grade. It tests kanji readings, kanji writing, stroke order, stuff like that. This is the standardized book, one of them. There are several different ones. This is the Kanji Gakushu Step for Jukyu, or level 10. As you can see by the picture of the friendly kitten, this is beginner's level. This is where you start. These books, here in Japan, these cost me roughly 1,000 yen, or $10. I was able to get them back when I lived in America too. You can use amazon.co.jp, or there was BK1 is now Honto. I'll try to put the link in the description. You can use that to get it. I will be going through it just about verbatim. You can kind of see the similarities here. This is just if you want a companion book or to follow along, or you want your own thing to write in. It also comes very handily with like the answer booklet and like a separate little notebook that you can practice writing in. It's got all your little kanji practice spaces, and it shows you stroke order. So yeah, if you want, you can go ahead and get that. I'm going to be going straight from this. As for how I'd recommend to use these videos on practical level studying, how it's going to work is I'm going to show you the kanji, the different readings for it, how these readings work in a real-world context. After that, I'll show you stroke order and how to write it best, like where to let it like drag off and where to stop, that sort of thing. And then after this, you can maybe pause, practice by yourself a little bit. You've got the pause button yourself on YouTube. If you want me to repeat, something again, just rewind a few seconds on YouTube. It will save me the trouble of erasing myself constantly. And then after that, there will be a couple of exercises, which I'll erase this, put up on the board. You can do them yourself. You can get on a pen and paper, try it yourself. I'll give you the answers afterwards. You can check yourself. As always, as with all my videos, if you have questions or comments, feel free to write something below. I check my comments, like they still come to my email. Every single comment that gets left on my wall, it goes in my email. So I promise you I will see it. Because of the time difference and the fact that I have a job, I may or may not respond right away, but I do try to respond within the next day or two. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so this is our first kanji right here. It's only got one stroke. It doesn't get easier than that. As you might expect of a one-stroke kanji, its meaning is 1. It's kanji for the number 1. It's got 3 different readings here. And real quick, let me explain how the readings work. There are 2 systems of reading, or 2 types of readings rather. There's the onyomi and the kunyomi. The onyomi literally translates to like sound reading. The onyomi is when Japanese people listen to Chinese people reading the kanji, it's what they thought the Chinese people were saying. So it's written in the kind of closest approximation of the Chinese sound and what the Japanese people thought they were hearing. The kunyomi is the original Japanese way of writing it. It's whatever they were using natively, that they then tried to match up to the kanji. As you can tell, this system is sort of cobbled together over time from 2 different languages, so kanjis won't always have the same number. Like this one's got 3, there's other kanjis that only have 1. There's some kanjis that lack an onyomi or a kunyomi. It'll be missing one or the other. It's just all over the place, and sadly, it's just a thing you have to memorize. The good news is that it does get easier over time. You just start getting used to it. You can figure it out by sound. It takes a while to get to that point, but I promise it happens. Practically speaking, in terms of how to use the on and kunyomi, the onyomi is what's going to be used typically, not always, but typically, when you're combining it with another kanji. So in this case it's ichiban, and it's using the onyomi. On the other hand, if I'm going to write a kanji by itself, with no other kanji connected to it, like it's just the kanji and maybe a hiragana or something after it, I'm probably going to use its kunyomi. Again, this is not always the case. It's just a general principle that might help you get by. Okay, so let's talk about this kanji in particular now that we've got that out of the way. So, as you can see, this kanji has 2 onyomis and 1 kunyomi. The onyomis for this kanji are ichi and itsu. So, ichi, itsu. The kunyomi, the original Japanese, is hitotsu. This tsu is written in parentheses because if I were to write it out, and I want it to be read as hitotsu, not ichi, I would specify that by adding, I can't really write from this side very well, I'm sorry. I'd specify by writing that tsu out to the side. Later on, I'll show you another reason why this would be written out here in parentheses. Starting with how you'd use these, practically speaking, some examples. We've got ichiban over here, which means like the first, the most, the best, number 1, literally. So in this case, it's combined with this other kanji ban, so we'd read it as ichi. It happens to use that one. Moving on, this next reading is hitori, which means alone, or one person, by oneself. The reason this is using hito instead of one of these onyomis is because the Japanese already had a word for alone before the Chinese showed up. So they fit their own word to these 2 kanji. It means one person. So this one, be careful, is read hitori, hitori. Moving on, for example, this is how you'd write a date in Japanese. This is the 2nd month, 1st day. And I won't delve into this one too terribly because it's how the Japanese read their calendar dates for the first 10 days of the month is really weird. I'll cover that maybe in a Nihongo Shiki episode later, because this one is read Suitachi for day 1 is Suitachi, which you'll notice isn't any of these readings. Sometimes kanji do that. They have an unusual reading and you have to memorize it. But bear in mind that this Suitachi is not really used outside of talking about calendar dates and months. So, last one in this category is using it in an actual, full sentence, full set phrase. Mizo hitoguchi nomu, which is to drink one mouthful of water. Basically, to drink water by, one sip of water, one gulp of water. So, over here, we're using hitoguchi. Hitoguchi. Again, we're using this kunyomi. Moving on next, we've got this kanji. It's the kanji for right, as in the direction. So, it's pretty simple to write still. We're only at 5 strokes for you. Again, we have 3 readings. So we've got the most simple one over here is u, just u. And then over here is very similar. It's yu. And then the Japanese reading for it is migi, which you've probably heard if you've watched anime. This is a very common thing, obviously. So, in terms of our examples, we've got migite, which is your right hand, literally. So, again, we're using this kunyomi over here. Migite, right hand. Over here, we've got sayu o miru, which this phrase literally means to look left and right, or to look around. And the last one, our set phrase for this kanji, we've got kuruma ga usetsu suru, which this combination here means to turn right. So in this case, the car is turning right. This reading, we're finally going back to our own yomis. We're using usetsu. So in this case, we've got it combined with the kanji usetsu. So again, as you can tell, this migite is combined with another kanji, but we're still using its kunyomi. Like I said, a lot of these basic ones, the Japanese already had a word for it before the Chinese came and gave them more like a writing system. So they're using kind of the Japanese reading for the words that they already had as a set phrase. Because obviously some of the basic stuff here, like one person, right hand, these are basic words. For things like this, which are to turn right, which there's several ways of writing the phrase to turn right in Japanese. This particular one was probably invented after the Chinese came and gave them a writing system, so that's why it's using this onyomi instead of kunyomi. So this is, like I said, these are things that you just have to memorize, and I'm really, really sorry. Moving on next over here, we've got this kanji, which is the kanji for rain, as in the weather condition. Rain, literally. So we've got 3 readings again. We've got u. So you'll notice this is one of the same onyomis as right was over there. This is going to happen a lot. And that's part of the reason why they have this test. There will be trick questions on this kanken exam of which kanji are we using? Which reading are we using? Teehee, they're the same. So you have to be really careful. Speaking from experience, we don't really use this u a lot as a reading for rain. So don't worry about it too heavily. And then moving straight into the kunyomis, we've got ame, which is how you'll normally see it read. And then we've got ama, which is another variation that can happen. Okay, moving on into the practical usage of these kanji, some examples. The first one we have is amagasa, which I'm going to be honest is not a word we use often. This one means umbrella. I guess it's either an old word for umbrella or it's just a very specific word for umbrella, because most of the time we just use kasa instead of amagasa. But there you go, it's using this ama reading. The next one we have is actually a 4 kanji compound, so this is actually a little bit of an advanced usage. It's uten chushi, which is using this onyomi over here. A lot of these 4 kanji compounds are going to be using the Chinese reading. This one literally means canceled due to rain, or wash out, rain out. The kanji are for rain, heaven, basically, the middle of, and to stop. So, was canceled in progress due to rain from the sky. So this is using that u. So uten chushi. Uten chushi. The last one we have over here is oame no higai. You'll learn this one probably in the next lesson or two. This is big rain no higai. So this literally means damage due to heavy rain. Or this is a noun phrase with this no. So in this case we're using the kunyomi of ame, which is honestly the most normal of the readings you're going to use. When you're referring to, oh, it's raining outside, this o ame, you're using ame. So tend to focus on this one. Last up here, we've got this kanji you've probably seen before. The kanji for yen is its most common usage. We've only got 2 readings here, and depending on which one you're using, it actually kind of changes the meaning. So the first one we've got is en. We normally will say yen when we pronounce it with that y, but actually it's best read en. You'll hear this natively if you're in Japan, like when you go to buy something, if it's 1,000 yen, people will say, oh, 1000 yen desu ne. So you can kind of hear that y, which is where we got it as English speakers, but really it doesn't have it. You just say sen, but I guess that y makes it easier for us to hear. Anyway, for the onyomi, it's just en. And then its kunyomi is marui. So this marui, when we use it, we're using this kanji's other meaning, which is round. This marui is an adjective, obviously, round is an adjective. So if I'm going to write it in a sentence and conjugate it, I could say marui. That's the reason this is in parentheses, is because it's not included as part of the reading of this kanji, but in order to use it, you need it included just afterwards, because that's the bit that I can conjugate into maruku, marukanai, maru, all those different versions. Okay, let's look at the practical usages for this one now. We've got ichi yen dama, which is a 1 yen coin. The next one we've got is soratobu enban. So again, we're still using this onyomi over here. This is sky, fly, and in this case, an enban is like a disc. So literally, this is a flying disc. So over here, the last one, our set phrase, we're using the kunyomi this time. Maruku natte odoru. So this one literally means to dance in a circle, or dance like round. Maruku, round. In this case, we're using it as an adverb. So maruku natte, which is like naru is to become. So maruku natte, odoru is the verb for dance. So round, so become, round, dance. Dance in a circle, dance in the round. Now, let's talk about how to write them. So the first one, very easy. Start here in the middle. Straight line. Ichi. We're good. So, let's review its readings as well. If you'll remember, we've got ichi, itsu, and hitotsu, as a reminder. So, next one, we've got the kanji for right, as in the right direction. So, Be very careful about this one in terms of if you ever need to actually know the proper stroke order. Right begins from the top. So use this stroke first. Then go across like you're writing ichi. And then down here, make a box. So as you can see, our strokes were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, the readings for right, if you remember, we had u, you, and migi. Okay. Next one here, we have the kanji for rain. So that's written with the line up top. Then make the cage bit from the bottom. Got a line down, right, and down. Don't lift your pencil. Then the line in the middle, and then the rain droplets in the kanji. So all in all, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Take care when you write this one. The end of this kind of hooks up a little bit when you write it. You've got that little bit there at the end. The readings for ame again, we've got the same u from before, then ame, and ama. Okay, our last kanji here, this yen, or round, we've got just the same as with this ame. We're going to create the outside cage bit, 2 strokes with a little hook here at the end. Then we've got the line down the middle, just like an ame, that comes next. And then the line across the middle there. This line is just over the halfway mark of this middle kanji, is how to make it look best. Sorry, my kanji here are perhaps not perfect shining examples because I'm writing from the side. You know, if you want to see a perfect shining example, go online or go use your computer. But these are pretty solid handwriting versions of the kanji. In general, I'll explain some of the basic rules about writing kanji for if you get stuck. In general, again, there are exceptions. Do not go and blast me about the several kanji that don't follow these rules. You'll go from the top left to the bottom right when you're writing. In general, you'll see like we started up here, then we got this other part of the left done, then we moved down, and then we went from left to right. Okay? Another thing is that when you're writing things like this box or this case, your last step in writing that sort of part or that kanji will be to close the box. For example, you'll notice we did the left and top and right before we did the bottom. That bottom is typically always going to be your last piece. Same thing down here with yen. We wrote this middle line before we closed off the box at the bottom. That is, in general, how you'll use it. I also just realized we didn't go over the readings for yen again because we just covered them. But just to recap, we've got en and maru, i. So now that you've gone through and studied all the readings, if you need a brief review, feel free to go back and rewind to the section that you want to watch again. We are going to now have a series of activities, and you can practice on your own paper at home, but I will mostly be testing which readings you're going to use. So be very careful about that. Okay, here is our first exercise. So I'll go through and help you read it, because obviously these exercises come from a book for Japanese children, so it's assuming you already know some words, so I'll give you a hand with it. Your assignment is out here, next to the kanji, to write its proper reading. Or in the event that you're not going to use a pen and paper, just think what the reading should be. Okay? So this first one is Tomahto o yama kau. The sentence means to buy 1 tomato. So you've got Tomahto o yama kau. Number 2, over here, we've got kara basu ga kuru. So this sentence means the bus is coming from the right. So again, the reading is kara basu ga kuru. Over here, we've got kotoshi wa ga oi. I wrote that wrong. I wrote 3 O's in a row. Let's change that to the I it should be. So this meaning is, this year there is a lot of rain. So the reading again is kotoshi wa ga oi. Last one, we've got tombi ga ku tobu. Last one, we've got tombi ga ku tobu. So we've got this ku in here. So take note of that. This meaning is the black bird flew in a circle. So this tombi is a type of blackbird here in Japan. So the blackbird flew in a circle. Tombi ga ku tobu. Okay? So if you're still needing a bit of time, pause this video. Alright, now that you've unpaused, let's go over the answers. For Tomahto o yama kau. Okay, for this first one, Tomahto o yama kau, we've got hito. A lot of the times, if we're using counters in Japanese, we're going to use the traditional Japanese number, in this case, hito. So, in this case, we're talking about the number of tomatoes, so we're using a counter. I'll cover those later, probably. We've got hito. The next one here, migi kara basu ga kuru. Obviously, we've got migi. Again, this is one of those cases where the kanji is by itself. So I'm probably going to use the kunyomi, traditional Japanese. Over here, kotoshi wa ga oi. We're using ame. So this is yet another case, just like number 2, where we're using the kunyomi because it's by itself. Also, ame is the typical reading. The last sentence over here, tombi ga tobu. Since its meaning is, in this case, round, circle, and we've got this ku that has conjugated to become an adverb. We've got maru. So again, we're using this particular reading of it, which can become an adjective or an adverb. We're using maru. There's no chance of using n there. You can't say ne. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so now that you've got this done, let's move on to exercise number 2. This exercise is very similar, except this time we're solely focusing on ichi, itsu, hito. So, your job is to play a matching game. So for number 1, we'll match these 2 sentences to their proper readings down here. Number 2, you've got 3 choices and 3 sentences. Going through them, this first one over here, tsu no mikan. This is saying 3 mikans. Mikans are a type of like tangerine. So something, tsu no mikan. We've got this su here as a hint. The next one, mai no e. This mai is another counter. This is saying you've got 1 picture. Did I say that this means 3 mikans just now? Like for some reason I think that I just said that. 1 mikan and 1 picture. I'm sorry if I messed that up. I'm completely sure I haven't finished my coffee yet. So anyway, match. One of these sentences goes to ichi. The other sentence will go to hito. So, get that one done. Number 2, over here, we've got 3 choices. We'll have ichi, i, which is a writing we didn't cover. It's just connecting that same ichi, itsu to another thing. And then we've got hito. So the first sentence over here is yasumi suru, which is basically to take a small nap, or a small break, a small rest. This next one is dai no kuruma, which this dai is a counter. This means one car. This last one over here, piki no neko. This piki is another counter. It's talking about one cat, singular cat. So match which one it belongs with, ichi, I, or hito. Okay, and pause your video for time. Hitotsu, so this is hitoyasumi. And ichidai and ippiki. Okay, ready to check your answers? So, over here we've got something, tsu no mikan, one mikan. Because we've got this su, of course, we're going to use hitotsu. Which means over here we've got ichimai no e, one picture. Moving on to question 2, we've got something, yasumi suru. In this case, we're using hito, so hitoyasumi suru. This next one, we've got 2 variations of ichi left. So this one is one of those that, because you probably haven't learned how the counters work yet, you kind of have to guess by sound which one sounds better. Does it sound better as ichidai no kuruma or ittai kuruma? So, what do you think? We've got ichidai kuruma is the answer. This next one over here, of course, is now I. So we've got ippiki no neko. Again, these exercises are coming straight from a Japanese textbook, so I'm sorry if they may seem a little high level or they're testing you on stuff that you don't necessarily know, but these are probably what I'm going to work with because these are common usages and they do get you used to hearing the sounds and they'll help you figure out kind of, like I said, in this case you could kind of sound it out, which one sounds better. It'll get you more comfortable with that sort of activity. Okay, last exercise. You'll get to actually write kanji this time. So what's going to happen is I'm going to give you a sentence with the reading in it, so you'll know which word I'm saying, and it's your job to write in the proper kanji. So again, I'll go through and translate and read it out loud. So the first one over here, we've got mizu o ippai nomu, which means to drink like one big gulp of water, to drink a lot of water. So mizu o ippai nomu. Second one, we've got ichiban migi no hito, which means the person farthest on the rightmost person. So again, ichiban migi no hito. Number 3, we've got a longer phrase here. We've got uten de hanabi taikai wa yame ni natta. So this means because of heavy rain, the giant fireworks display was cancelled. So again, uten de hanabi taikai wa yame ni natta. So again, because of heavy rain, the fireworks festival, fireworks meeting was cancelled. And last one over here, number 4, we've got otsuri wa 8 yen datta. Last one over here, number 4, we've got otsuri wa 8 yen datta, which means your change is 8, or your change was 8 yen. Otsuri wa 8 yen datta. Okay, take a bit, pause your video. Alright, now that you're back, let's write in some kanji. So over here, this first one, mizu o ippai nomu. So of course we've got the kanji for 1. Over here, ichiban migi no hito. So again, this ichi, of course we're using the kanji for 1. And this migi no hito, we've got the kanji for right. Like that. Number 3, we've got heavy rain. So of course, we're using the kanji for rain. Alright, and last one, we've got your change is 8 yen. So of course, kanji for yen. Alright, and that covers up today's lesson. I'm sorry that this one was longer than they'll probably be in the future because there was explanation that needed to be done. I'm also sorry for a couple of pedagogy mistakes I made and forgetting some orders of things. I'm sure that will get better over time as I get used to doing this format. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below the video. I know some of these exercises are difficult because they're made for native speakers, but honestly, I don't have the time to make up completely unique exercises for each and every video. I honestly just don't have the time. And these are, natural sounding phrases. These are the sort of things I would use in actual daily life. So it's probably better for you to get accustomed to using them in these natural phrases. So, and this is one of those where I'm going to trust the textbook on this matter. So if you've got any suggestions on that, ways to make this easier, please feel free to leave a comment and I'll see what I can do. But do be aware that I don't necessarily have all the time in the world to custom create a Japanese course for all you guys, and I'm sorry for that. I also know that in a previous Nihongo Shiki video, it was pretty much a unanimous decision that everyone liked the superimposed writing better, but in this case, because it's a writing course, I'm gonna need to be able to write actively instead of trying to do it in editing afterwards. So I will do my best to make it visible, but again, I'm working with what I've got. So from what I can tell looking at the camera while I record this, it is largely visible, and I think that with me reading it aloud, that will help as well. So if it's completely unbearable, I'm sorry about that. If you've got a suggestion that will not eat up hours of my time and make this a lot harder to teach because I can't actively write at the same time to teach you how to write, let me know. But again, we've time constraints, energy, resources, that sort of thing. We've got to work in the constraints we've got. So, all that being said, I hope that this was a good lesson, and I hope you guys find it useful. So, I'll see you next time.